Raise your hand if you've ever bought a lovely little plant, brought it home with hope in your heart, and then, somehow, it wilted, withered, and said goodbye before the month was out. Yeah, I see you smiling. Don't worry, you're not alone. Whether it was a stubborn tomato plant that refused to fruit, or that basil that drooped no matter how much you whispered sweet nothings to it, we've all been there. And let's be honest, gardening in small spaces can feel like a cruel joke sometimes. You want to grow something beautiful, something alive, but your balcony barely fits a chair, your knees aren't what they used to be, and you end up with more dirt on your floor than in your pots. And oh, the mistakes. Watering like you're putting out a fire, planting sunlovers in shady corners, stacking too many pots until one tumbles like a garden Jenga. But here's the good news. It's not your fault. You don't need a big yard. You don't need to be on your knees for hours. And no, you absolutely don't need to give up on the garden of your dreams. What you do need are a few clever secrets. Stick with me today, and I'll walk you through 7 stylish, space-saving, senior-approved gardening hacks that can transform even the tiniest space into a lush little paradise. And guess what? They're easier than you think. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand why your small garden hasn't been working, you'll be ready to revive it with confidence, joy, and maybe even a touch of flair. But hey, before we dig in, do me a small favor. Click that subscribe button and tap the little bell icon. Here on Golden Seniors Living, we're building something special, a community of gardeners who believe it's never too late to grow something beautiful. All right, let's roll up our sleeves and get started. First up, secret number 1, the Lazy Seniors Vertical Garden. You're going to love this. Let me tell you a little story. Her name is Edna, 72 years old, sharp as a tack, and with a laugh that can brighten a cloudy morning. But her balcony? Oh, it was a mess. She had pots stacked on top of each other, bags of soil tucked behind a chair, and a half-dead mint plant that hadn't seen sunlight since the spring of 2019. Every time she tried to water something, she'd bump her elbow or nearly tip a pot over. She'd sigh and say, maybe I'm just too old for all this. But deep down, Edna loved gardening. She just thought she didn't have the space or the knees for it anymore. And then something changed. One day, she stumbled on an idea that transformed everything. Not a big expensive solution, not some newfangled gadget, just one simple shift in how she looked at her space. She discovered the magic of going up instead of trying to spread out. Secret 1, the Lazy Seniors Vertical Garden. So let's go back to Edna for a moment. At 72, gardening had always been her little slice of heaven. But with the way her knees ached and her apartment balcony barely fitting a chair and a broom, she started to believe maybe her gardening days were behind her. I just don't have the space, she'd say. And even if I did, my body's not up for it anymore. But Edna is no quitter. And deep down, she knew there had to be a better way. One afternoon, she was reorganizing her closet. You know, one of those, let me finally tackle that mess kind of afternoons. She pulled out this old over-the-door shoe organizer. You know the kind. Little fabric pockets, a bit dusty, still hanging on by its hooks. She stared at it for a moment, then smiled. What if I filled this with soil? And that, my friend, was the beginning of Edna's vertical garden. She took that old organizer, gave it a good shake, and hung it on the railing outside. She filled each pocket with potting mix, dropped in a few herb seeds, and some baby petunias she picked up at the market. And just like that, she created a blooming, living wall of green joy. No bending, no heavy pots to shuffle around, no crawling on her knees just to get a whiff of her mint. Everything was right there, a level, and easy to reach. And the plants? Oh, they loved it. Basil in one pocket, cherry tomatoes in another, lavender and rosemary gently swaying in the breeze. It became the backdrop to her mornings. A little sun, a little water, and that beautiful feeling of I made this. That's the magic of vertical gardening. It gives you more without asking for more space. And here's the best part. You don't need to be a DIY expert or spend a fortune. Use a fabric shoe rack. Hang a few small buckets on a coat rack or broomstick. Try those canvas wall planters that go up like posters. If you've got a fence, a railing, or even a strong hook on a door, you've got space for a garden. And don't worry about the fancy soil or rare seeds. Start with herbs you use in your kitchen, or simple flowers that make you smile when you see them. Because if it brings you joy, that's what matters most. Edna now calls her little setup the garden wall of hope. And every time she walks past it, she gives her basil a wink and says, "We're still in this together, huh?" So let me ask you, if Edna can grow a garden on a wall with nothing but fabric pockets and a little determination, what's stopping you? Go vertical, save your knees, and grow something beautiful your way. Secret 2, the 10-minute no-bin container trick. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stood over a garden bed, stared at a tiny weed or a thirsty plant, and thought, if I bin one more time, I might not get back up? You're not alone. One of the biggest reasons so many seniors give up gardening is because it's just not comfortable anymore. We love the smell of fresh soil, the way the leaves shimmer in the sunlight. But our backs, our knees, even our hips, they're not exactly cheering us on these days, are they? Well, here's a little secret that might just change everything. It's called the no-bin container trick. And it takes less than 10 minutes to set up. All you need is a raised surface, a small table, a plant stand, or even an old cart. Set a few medium-sized planters on top. Add wheels underneath if it doesn't already have them. And just like that, you've got yourself a rolling, reachable garden. No crouching, no stooping, no strain. You can plant herbs, lettuce, flowers, even strawberries, all right there at waist height. And the best part? You can move it. That's right. Roll it out into the sun in the morning. Roll it back into the shade when the heat gets too much. Bring it closer when you want to garden from your chair or walker. Edna, remember her from earlier? She now keeps 2 of these rolling gardens right outside her kitchen door. One for her salad greens, and one just for her grandkids to play with. They plant marigolds together, right at the table. No fuss, no pain, just joy. I like to think of it as bringing the garden up to meet you, instead of you always going down to meet the garden. And you don't need to spend a lot. Repurpose an old tea trolley. Use a second-hand kitchen island. Even an old wooden drawer on bricks will do the trick if it's steady and safe. What matters is that you're comfortable, that you're able to garden with ease, with grace, and with a smile. Now, before we move on, I want to hear from you. What's your biggest garden struggle right now? Is it the bending? The watering? The space? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. Seriously, I read every single one, and I'll be right there, replying with tips, ideas, and maybe even a few golden secrets from fellow seniors who've been in your shoes. Because gardening isn't just about plants. It's about people, about sharing, about helping each other grow. All right, take a deep breath and stretch those fingers. Because coming up next, we're reaching into your kitchen cabinet for one of the most surprising bloom boosters you already own. You're going to love this next one. Secret 3, the Cheaters Bloom Boost Coffee Grounds Hack. Back in 1975, Frank, my neighbor 2 doors down, brewed the kind of coffee that could wake up an entire street. He didn't just drink it, he lived for it. He'd say, if it's not strong enough to stand your spoon in, it's not coffee, it's colored water. And every morning at 6:15 sharp, like clockwork, the aroma of Frank's coffee would drift down the hallway, sneak under doors, and wrap around your nose like a warm blanket. But here's the funny part. All those leftover coffee grounds he dumped in his garden without thinking? They were doing something incredible. His roses were the brightest on the block. His marigolds stood tall and proud. Even his hydrangeas had that deep, rich color you only see in magazines. It turns out, coffee grounds are garden gold. They're packed with nitrogen, a natural nutrient that plants crave, especially during their blooming and leafy growth stages. Nitrogen is like a plant's personal trainer. It fuels the growth of lush, healthy foliage. And when your leaves are thriving, your flowers follow close behind. But here's the trick. Don't just toss the ground straight into your pots. They can clump, create mold, and even block water if you're not careful. Instead, take a handful, just a small amount, and mix it into the top layer of your soil. Treat it like a slow-release fertilizer. Your plants will thank you. Even better, you can compost the grounds with your kitchen scraps or mix them with shredded paper to balance the acidity. If you're growing acid-loving plants like blueberries, hydrangeas, or azaleas, coffee grounds can give them a beautiful boost. And for potted plants, a pinch mixed with the soil once every 2 weeks is more than enough. Too much of a good thing, and you might tip the scale. Moderation is key. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, won't the caffeine hurt the plants? Great question. Used coffee grounds actually have most of the caffeine already brewed out. What's left behind is mostly organic matter, nitrogen, and trace minerals like potassium and magnesium. In other words, it's like a gentle pick-me-up without the jitters. And if you don't drink coffee, no worries. Just ask your local cafe for their used grounds. Most places will give them away for free. They'll even bag it up for you. Edna does it every week now. She walks down to the corner coffee shop, grabs a bag of used grounds, and says with a wink, "This isn't for me, dear. It's for my begonias." So next time you brew your morning cup or smell that neighbor's pot brewing down the hall, just smile to yourself. Because now you know that rich, earthy goodness can wake up more than just your sleepy eyes. It can wake up your garden. Try it this week. One pinch in your pots, a little mix into your raised beds, and watch what happens. You don't need expensive fertilizer. You've got magic right in your kitchen. All right, now that we've had our coffee, let's keep going. Because coming up next is something that costs almost nothing, but makes your garden look twice the size. Stick around. Secret 4, dollar store feng shui for small gardens. Let's be honest. Sometimes it's not the size of the space that makes it feel cramped. It's the way the space is used. You could have a tiny balcony that feels like a botanical spa, or a full backyard that somehow always feels like a storage shed. And for us seniors, especially those in apartments or small homes, making a space feel open, peaceful, and inviting is just as important as growing the plants themselves. That's where this little-known secret comes in. I like to call it dollar store feng shui for small gardens. Don't let the fancy name fool you. You don't need a guru or a design degree. You just need a few dollars, a sense of calm, and a little imagination. Here's how it works. Start by picking up a couple of small mirrors. Yes, the kind you'd normally hang inside your hallway. You can often find them at the dollar store, craft shops, or tucked away in clearance bins. Now, hang or prop these mirrors in your garden space carefully, of course, and somewhere safe from rain or wind. Suddenly, your garden doubles in size. The light bounces, the greenery reflects, and even the tiniest patch of plants starts to feel like an oasis. It's not just about aesthetics, it's about energy. Feng shui is all about the flow of space, the feeling of movement, and the peace that comes when things are balanced. And you don't need statues or water fountains to do it. A few smooth pebbles scattered along the base of your containers can give your garden grounding. Pick ones that feel good in your hand, ones that remind you of rivers, of stillness, of nature. Then, add a little movement. A simple wind spinner, a ribbon that dances in the breeze, or a small hanging bell that chimes ever so gently when the wind passes through. Movement invites life. It stirs energy, and it brings that sense of rhythm that makes your garden feel alive, even when the plants are still. It's not about spending money. It's about spending intention. Edna told me once, "I used to think I needed more space. Turns out, I just needed more soul in the space I had." And she's right. Your garden doesn't need to be big. It just needs to feel like you. Now, before we jump into our next juicy tip, I've got a little garden game for you. Just for fun. Imagine 3 pots sitting on your patio. One's gorgeous and glazed. One's small but cute. One looks a little too deep. Now here's the question. Which one is secretly killing your plant? Is it A, the one with no drainage holes? B, the pot that's way too small for the roots? C, the deep one that holds too much water and causes root rot? Take a guess. Think it over. And if we were live, I'd be checking your answers right now. Here's a hint. They're all dangerous, depending on the plant. The real secret? Knowing what your plants actually need, especially in small containers. But we'll get more into that in a future episode. For now, keep your garden calm. Keep it flowing. And remember, beauty doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be intentional. Coming up next, we're talking about plant picks that are practically indestructible. Yes, even if your grandkids knock them over or you forget to water them for days. You're going to want these in your space. Let's keep going. Secret 5, the Grandkid Proof low-light plant picks. Let me paint you a picture. You've just finished arranging your beautiful little planter by the hallway window, your pride and joy. Then little Jacob comes tearing around the corner, chasing his sister with a rubber dinosaur. One quick bump, and just like that, crash, your poor plant's on its side, soil on the floor, and you're holding back and not in front of the grandkids kind of word. Sound familiar? Let's be honest, we love having the grandkids around. But delicate orchids and high-maintenance houseplants? They don't always survive the chaos of a visit. That's why secret number 5 is a lifesaver. These are the Grandkid Proof low-light plant picks. The plants that don't just survive in shady corners and forgotten shelves, they thrive. Even if you forget to water them, even if they get knocked over, even if you place them where the sun only visits once a week. Let me introduce you to a few green heroes. First up, the ZZ plant. It sounds like it should be in a sci-fi movie, but this beauty is as down-to-earth as they come. Glossy green leaves, thick, hardy stems. It doesn't need much light, barely drinks water, and still looks like $1,000,000. You can forget about it for weeks, and it won't hold a grudge. Next, the classic snake plant, also lovingly known as mother-in-law's tongue. Now, don't be fooled by the name. This plant is a blessing. Tall, bold leaves that stand upright like swords, and a dramatic look that fits into any corner. It can survive in low light, fluorescent light, no light. You could practically grow it under your hat. It filters the air while you sleep and asks for nothing in return. Honestly, it's like having a silent roommate who pays rent and oxygen. And then there's the peace lily. Oh, the peace lily. Elegant, gentle, pure white blooms that rise like a little flag of serenity in the middle of your home. She's a little thirstier than the other two, but not by much. When she needs water, her leaves will droop ever so politely, as if to say, "Excuse me, dear, just a splash when you're ready." And once you do, she perks right back up, as if nothing happened. Graceful, forgiving, the perfect plant for a busy household. The best part? These plants look high maintenance, but they're anything but. They forgive late waterings. They tolerate shade. They stand strong, even if a curious little hand pulls at their leaves or knocks them sideways. They're the resilient elders of the plant world, and I say that with love. So, if you've got grandkids zipping around your home, or if you just want something that doesn't ask for much, start here. Put a ZZ plant on that shady shelf. Place a snake plant in that awkward hallway. Tuck a peace lily into that room that never sees the sun. They'll grow quietly, beautifully, and remind you that resilience can be elegant too. All right, friend, we're almost to the grand finale. But before that, we've got one more time-saving, joint-saving, life-saving secret up next. A watering trick so clever, you'll wonder why you didn't do it years ago. Let's keep going. Secret 6. The 5-minute senior-approved watering hack. Let's talk about watering. Because if we're being honest, it's not just the plants that get tired. It's the bending, the lifting, the careful aim so you don't spill water down your shoes. The way the watering can always seems just a little too heavy once it's full. And then there's the guessing game. Did I give it too much? Not enough? Why does this one look soggy while the others bone dry? Sound familiar? Well, here's some good news. You can toss all that worry right out the window, because this next trick, it's one of my absolute favorites. It's called the self-watering spike hack, and it takes less than 5 minutes to set up. Here's how it works. You take a simple self-watering spike, plastic or ceramic, either works, and insert it into the soil of your plant pot. Then, here's the fun part. You flip an old wine bottle or mason jar, filled with water, upside down into the spike. That's it. Gravity and the soil do all the work. The water slowly trickles out only when the plant needs it, keeping the soil perfectly moist without you having to lift a finger. No bending, no guessing, no hauling buckets across the patio like you're in a garden Olympics. And don't worry, if wine bottles aren't your thing, any long neck bottle will do. Glass soda bottles, vinegar bottles, even tall plastic ones. The key is that slow, steady release of water. Edna, yes, she's back again, now has self-watering spikes in every pot on her patio. She calls them her plant nannies. They work while I rest, she says. I just refill them every few days and let them do their thing. The best part? You can go out for a few days, visit your daughter, take a little weekend trip, and not come home to crispy, neglected plants. And if you live in a hot climate or forgetful like me, they're lifesavers. You can even add a drop of liquid fertilizer into the water for an extra little treat. So if your hands ache, if you've ever forgotten a watering day and felt guilty, it's about connection, color, conversation, and making your garden a place where you feel seen. Let's finish strong. Secret 7. The social butterfly mini garden. Now, we've talked about plants you can hang, ones you don't have to bend for, ones that practically take care of themselves. But this last secret, it's not just about saving space or avoiding sore joints. It's about sharing your garden. Because gardens, no matter how small, can become spaces of connection, places where conversations bloom, laughter floats through the leaves, and memories take root. Let me introduce you to what I call the social butterfly mini garden. It's not a place for rows of vegetables or long to-do lists. It's a space designed to draw people in, to say, "Come sit with me. Smell this. Touch that. Listen to this chime in the wind." It starts with colorful plants, the kind that make people smile the moment they walk by. Bright petunias, cheerful marigolds, maybe even a few zinnias or geraniums that catch the light just right. Then add herbs, but not just for cooking. Think sensory, fragrant basil, mint, lavender. Plants that invite you to lean in, breathe deep, and remember. Now sprinkle in some sound, just a little. A gentle wind chime, a bamboo bell, something that dances with the breeze and reminds you the garden is alive, even when it's still. But here's the real magic. Make it accessible. A wide path that a walker or wheelchair can glide across with ease. A sturdy bench, maybe with a cushion. A raised bed that welcomes tired hands without strain. And suddenly, your garden becomes more than just plants and pots. It becomes a place where stories are told, where grandkids bring drawings, where friends sit just a little longer than planned. Edna calls hers the talking garden. She says it's where neighbors stop just to say hello, where her daughter lingers after their weekly visit, and where she, most importantly, feels seen. And really, isn't that what we're all after? So if you've got a little corner, even just 5 feet wide, don't fill it with clutter. Fill it with color, with conversation, with kindness, and let your garden bloom in more ways than one. Take a moment. Think back to where we started. Wilted leaves, crowded corners, aching backs, and frustrated hearts. And now? Now you know how to build up instead of out. How to water without worry. How to grow in low light. And how to turn a quiet little space into a joyful sanctuary. You've seen what's possible. You've seen what you can do. From cluttered chaos to cozy calm. From "I can't garden anymore" to "look what I made." That, my friend, is the true transformation. Now it's your turn. Tag a friend who needs to stop killing their garden. Send this video to someone who's ready to try again, with heart and hope. And don't forget to subscribe and share your hashtag Golden Garden Moments in the comments. I'm reading every one, and we'll be featuring our favorites in next week's episode. Let's grow together. You know, gardening isn't just about greenery. It's about joy, about staying young, about making the most of every square inch of this beautiful life. Every bloom is a little reminder that you're still blooming too. And if no one told you today, you're doing a great job. You're growing something amazing. Now, next week, we're digging up something truly special. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell. Let's keep growing together. Until then, take care of your plants, and take even better care of you. See you soon.